Hi all, welcome to Spring MVC tutorial series. So in this video, we will be understanding what is actually a Spring Web MVC means, and we will understand the MVC architectures. Then we will understand the dispatcher sublet means, that is act as a front controller with a diagram. Then we will understand the advantages and disadvantages of Spring MVC. Then we will install the Spring tool suite, Apache Tomcat, and the Spring framework, Java 17, and later on we will create our first MVC applications. So let's get started. So before going ahead with the video, I would request you please subscribe to the channel to get videos on Spring Boot, microservice, REST API, Spring, Spring MVC, and many more software development methodologies. So let's get started. So before going ahead with the video, the prerequisite is you should have understanding of Spring core. So what is actually a Spring means? So Spring framework is an open source software development framework that provide infrastructure support for building any Java based application on any development platform. So we already have a dedicated playlist about the Spring frameworks specific to the Spring core, where we have understanding of Spring IOC, dependency injection, constructor based injection, injecting object, and auto add annotations, component, Spring Bean lifecycle, Spring Bean scope. So it is suggested to watch this Spring framework basic tutorial series. Next, let's understand what is actually a Spring MVC means. So Spring MVC is a Java framework which is used to build any web application. Till now, we have created a standalone application using the Spring framework. Now we will be creating a Spring web applications. So, and it follows the model view controller design patterns, and it implement all the basic features of core Spring. As I mentioned, the inversion control, dependency injections, all those things are being implemented on the Spring MVC. So as I mentioned, the Spring MVC follows MVC architecture. First, let's understand what is the MVC architecture means. So in this diagram, we see that web browser, from that web browser, it is goes to front controller, and the view. What was this? Each and every component actually means. The model. What is this model means? Model contains the data of the applications. A data can be any single object or a collection of the object. And what does this controller contains? The controller contains the business logic of an applications, and we will be using @controller annotation to mark the class as a controller. And what is the view component means? Say a view represent the provided information in a particular format. Generally, the JSP is used to create the view page. And what does this front controller means? So in the Spring Web MVC, here we will be having the dispatcher sublet. The dispatcher sublet class work as a front controller, and it is responsible to manage the flow of the Spring MVC application. So we'll understand what does this flow actually goes on, how a HTTP request has been made, and how it is coming to the front controller, that is called the dispatcher sublet. So let's understand that. So all the incoming requests are comes first to the dispatcher sublet that work as a front controller. Then after that dispatcher sublet then get whatever the entry provided on the URL. As per the XML file configuration, it provided those call or request to that specific controller, and the object of model and view is written by the controller, and then dispatcher sublet check the entry of the view resolver in the XML file again and invoke the appropriate view component to the client. Now let's understand what are the advantages and disadvantages of Spring MVC. So as you know, the Spring MVC provide a lot of features. So let's understand what are the features. That separate roles. What does it mean? The Spring MVC separate each roles where the model object, controller, command object, view resolver, dispatcher sublet, validator, each can be fulfilled by a specialized object. We know this is the lightweight. It uses lightweight servlet container to develop and deploy your application. And it have the powerful configuration. It provides a robust configuration for both framework and the application classes. Then it provides a rapid development as Spring MVC facilitates fast and parallel development. Then some other features like reusable business code, easy to test, and a flexible mapping as it provides a specific annotation that easily redirect the pages. Then the few disadvantages of this are it has high complexity to develop the application using these MVC patterns. So it is not suitable for the small application which affect the application performance and design. Now, what are the things we require to create our first MVC application? So you need to have the Spring Tool Suite editor. You can search on Spring Tool Suite 4. We'll be using the latest Spring Tool Suite 4. You can download that, and it is like made on the top of Eclipse. Then next we'll be having, you need to have installed the Apache Tomcats 11. You can directly go and install Apache Tomcat server download. You can download either 10 version or 11 version. I recommend to use like latest version only, that is Tomcat 11. You can go there and just click on zip and unzip that Tomcat server. In the upcoming videos I will be using those server, and the Spring Framework 6 will be using, and the Java 17 or 17 plus version will be using. So in the next video we'll be setting up our first Spring MVC application on STS. So please subscribe to the channel, and if you have any doubts you can ask on the comment section. So thank you for watching the video.